Gino. About to rip you a new one, Gino. I feel like my macro mechanics are good for gold. I just have trouble when my opponent turtles and makes air. Wait, so you're the Protoss, right? Yeah, gotta be the Protoss. You're Geno Haladan. I send probes, orbs, and zealots for scouting, but I'm so focused on macro that I forget to actually pay attention to my scouts. I just have the mindset of my build, and I will macro to victory. I suck at scouting and reacting to my opponent's builds. I think this is going to be the same as the Turtle Planetary one from earlier. Even though post-replay I see, oh, 111, Fusion Core in the heat of the game, I don't notice anything. You can stop watching after 11:30. I suicide my army and waste time afterwards. Much love, Pig. Thank you, Gino. Appreciate the love, my dude. Gino's here. Awesome. Macro good. All right, let's laugh at you. First things first, opening seems decent. We get trapped inside the base. Okay, so the opponent's doing a one base play. We definitely should have checked to see if it was double gas here. You can do that just by actually queuing your probe from the start to do a bit of a loop-de-loop. And other than that, let's see what we do. Do-do-do, 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 do-do-do. Oh, we're going Glaives. Well, that's a very weird choice versus Terran. Opening Glaives is very weird. It can work up to a decent point in the game. When like Stim and Shields or any Widow Mines kick in, the Adepts just get slaughtered. So if you are making Adepts, you got to do a timing attack with them. So the Adepts just jerking it is really bad. So build order-wise, not good. Those Adepts could have shaded in and done a bunch of damage. They could have shaded past the bunkers. I don't think the bunkers were even done. Your Glaives has been finished for a long time. So you could have shaded in, killed a bunch of SCVs, maybe got in the main, maybe straight up won the game. So making a whole bunch of early game units and then not using them, really not a good idea. 1-1 upgrades, cool. Third base timing, pretty cool too. Observers in the main base, okay. I mean, you said I have the mindset of just don't look at the scouts, but I mean, you got given all the scouting information in this game. just pay any attention at all. You see 2 starports, you see turrets going up. Even if you saw the 2 bunkers, these are all signs of one of those turtle players. So what do we do against turtle players? I will redirect you to point 1. Super turtle players, silver TVT. Obvious tells, cannons, spines, bunkers, planetary fortress on the natural, turrets or spores around their base, tanks on the high ground. What would my reaction be? You can either go kill them and bypass the static, so shade past the bunkers or warp in the main, or play even greedier. It's a drastic change to your build, so you need to batch things up to be efficient. Take a 3rd and 4th base, have 3 SCVs or probes queued, build 2 forges. You've already got a lot of this stuff, so you're really well set up. Make 8 barracks, so make 8 gateways, make a prism, fly that in the back of their base while just overwhelming the front with mass Zealot, Stalker, Archon Immortal, whatever it is, right? Zealot Archon Immortal would do the trick. Skip on unit production while being greedy because you know he can't attack you. Or you can mass late game units is another thing, right? Oh, take 5 bases, go mass carrier Tempests, right? Tempests are very good versus, and Void Rays are great versus BCs. But carriers would be your default till you know it's battle cruisers, right? Bonus versus Terran is... Oh, okay, they might be doing BCs and other fancy silly stuff, especially if you see 2 starports. So in that case, we can just make more Stalkers potentially. Is totally fine to deal with BCs. But yeah, that's about it. I know, face farm. It happens. Yeah, no. Alright, as long as you go attack. I mean, you should probably be winning this game. As long as we do a big 3-base timing. Definitely would have been good. If we hit that Adept timing, man, I really think we would have messed him up. But we just don't look at our scout. Turret finishes underneath it. All we need to do is chrono blink and make, what, 2 rounds of Stalkers? And then we can still go do our big attack. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, you answered your own question, Gino. Just go look at your scout. Build it into your build. You're like, oh, my focus is just do macro. 5 minutes. Oh, when I go to build my double forge, I also check my scout to see what I'm looking at. You know, something like that. Whatever it is, right? Just build a moment where there's something that you're very consistent at doing and go do that. What's really cool is if you attack with your Adepts, you're probably going to have already sent that Observer in and shade in with the Adepts, and you're probably going to see what's going on as well. So both of those are perfectly fine options, right? Both are really good options, my dude. You got off easy roasting-wise ambitions? Oh, I haven't actually been roasting very hard today. I was roasting really hard at the start of the day, and since then I've eased off. One guy sent a replay and was like, how I play better. So that guy, I literally just opened the replay, got disgusted for a minute at the lack of build order. They were just doing random stuff, and then I was like, yeah, I have no advice. I was like, what did I say? Watch Bronze to GM. That's all I said. It's like the second or third one we did today. I was just like, watch Bronze to GM. That's all I could say. I was like, all right. How many gateways do we have? 10? Wait, why are we warping in zealots at home? We have a warp prism at the front, don't we? Oh, no, we don't. I guess that one was in the main, wasn't it? Fair call, fair call. Dad vs. Son was good. Wow. What are we doing, Gino? No, Gino! Why are we taking so long? Go! Move! Get in there! Okay, this should easily be a game win. You just need to A-move towards the main. Why are you running away? What are you doing? You just won the game. All you needed to do. Okay, so this is actually, Gino, I'm gonna give you the game changer for you, okay? There is a game changer. Here, 10 minutes, what you wanna do? Hold on. Actually, there is more detail to it. There is more detail to the specifics of it. So this video hopefully can help you out, okay? Study. Each move matters. Each move matters. Both buttons, guys. Remember both. Oh, too good, guys. Too good. I'm going to link you guys the video, spread it around. It is the greatest StarCraft song ever made. Shout out to Heavens. I think that's Heavens. He's part of Root, right? I think he's like a GM Protoss. Yeah, this is actually made by a GM Protoss as well. So, so that honestly though is all the advice Gino needs here. And the problem is that Gino was overthinking. It was like, what do I do when I'm attacking? And all we needed to do was click on the minimap was the trick here, guys. Don't even click on the screen. See, Gino, we look at the camera. Look at Gino control this army. This is where the mistakes are made. Remember the bongos, guys. Get your bloody bongos out. That's all you got to do. See? Attacking a command center that's floating. What are we doing? The problem is we're looking at our army. We A-move that main base right now. We win this game way more efficiently than what we did here. Way more efficiently. And guess what? You've seen battle cruisers. Oh! Go home. Warp in Stalkers. And you can defend the battlecruiser counterattack while your Zealots and Archons and Immortals kill every single building. And you got it. You got it. F2 A move. F2 A move. Or in this case, 1 A move, because you're a very good player who control grouped your army. So good on you. But yeah, definitely in this scenario, because there's only like 1 tank left on the high ground shooting you. That one's too far back. He doesn't even raise the wall. You literally could stroll right in there and win. So, yeah, you'd be good if you did that. I do like that you stopped at 59 probes. That advice about the probe count that we were talking about earlier with someone else, you've already followed. So you can just transfer from the natural to the 4th. Beautiful. You haven't made blink yet. Oh, no. Yeah, you do need a lot of Stalkers. Because you've got such good upgrades, you've got 2/2. You're about to also have +3 armor and +1 shields. If you think about it, you might be like, how do I beat these battlecruisers? But you don't even need to beat them. Because unless he lifts his buildings and hides them, you win the game without ever killing the battlecruisers, right? But if you do, and that would have kept him occupied, and then instead of building like cannons and Archons, all you would be spending your money on is Stalkers at home and Blink. And just Chrono Wing Blink, Stalkers, 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 Stalkers. And your army, just throw it away, kill whatever you can. And if you can get up like 25 Stalkers, you'd easily hold this. You got 10 gates. So like 2 warp-ins, if you blink under it, you do okay. But even if they kill a base or 2, like it's not the end of the world. You got a lot of money. You're going to kill all of his buildings. So yeah, good stuff, mate. And especially if you attack earlier at 10 minutes, think about it. It's been almost 2 minutes. So if you made that decision at 10 minutes rather than dilly-dallying, you would have seen the battlecruisers earlier and then also had a chance to respond. Also, if we looked at our observer, we would already have blink finished, right? Because we'd already know that this is the case. So we'd already be warping in stalkers probably with our attack potentially. GG's. Well played, Gino. Well played. Recently, I've been enjoying playing 4-gate glaive against Zerg. I get a decent timing, deals devastating damage. Most Zergs, however, find it's quite exhausting to micro in the front, shade between bases, make sure adepts are in chokes against things, and also not targeting queens. Jesus Christ. In addition to macro at home, this is also a time 5 to 6 minute where I need to transition charge temper archives, third base, gases on natural forge. I float a lot of money, sometimes lose anyway because I do as much damage to myself as I do to my opponent. I feel like the adepts need the micro since it's quite a committed attack. Delaying macro often leads me to losing, as I did this game. How do I get these macro tasks done in these high pressure scenarios without growing 2 additional hands? Yeah, well the thing is you can't do everything at once, so you just have to make actual decisions on what you want to focus on. So there's a big reason why I've always told people don't do this build. This build is really shit. And people are like, oh, Harstem did a guide, Pig. I'm copying Harstem's guide. And I'm like, oh, okay. Have fun being stuck in Platinum League forever, like the Terran players who are like, Pig, I don't want to do what you do. I want to do Hero Marines build because he's better than you at Terran. And I'm like, I know he is. You're not. You guys are plebs like me. And you need easier build orders. The Warp Prism adds so much complexity to this build. It makes it really hard to do. So how do I do an adept pressure? I make my 3 or 4 gateways, usually 3 gates, and I just shade the adepts across the map, and I maybe make 1 more round of adepts to reinforce and shade those across the map. And that way I'm not warping in on the front and juggling adepts into the main with a prism shading into the natural shading. I just simplify the build. So this is the classic question in StarCraft: how do I do 14 things at once? I'm not Maru, I'm not fucking Hero, how do I do? And I'm always like, don't try to do what they do. I'm sorry. I know some of you are fight fans, okay? But do you guys try to? I feel like some of you are trying to do. Wait. I feel like I'm trying to find a good clip. Yeah. I feel like so many of you are just doing this. You're like, look, oh, that seems like a legit logical play in StarCraft. Let's do that. Let's do that. This seems like a good idea, right? You're like, yeah, that seems like a solid way to learn fundamentals. Like, I can pull that off. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would you think that's something you can pull off? You're not Pereira. The guy's a savage, but come on. Guy shows up to fight class, 3rd day at the gym is like, can we practice a backflip onto the other guy's face? And I'm like, no, you can't practice that. That's ridiculous. Even he shouldn't be doing that. That's such a waste of energy, dude. Okay, so anyways, you could still do the build. So obviously just going with 3-gate, 4-gate adept is nice, right? Because it's easier, right? And then you can just explode into 3rd Nexus, double robo behind it, whatever you want, right? Now, that's fine. Let's say we do this build still. We know this build pretty well. Let's forget about forgetting to set the rally point at the 2-minute mark and having 3 probes stacked up on the natural before noticing while tryhard microing an adept. Let's forget about this. Let's imagine this doesn't happen. And we're really good at the build. We always hit it really tight. So, you know, I don't want to mess anything up. And you're cutting a lot of probes, right? You are cutting a lot of probes. So you're hitting a very sharp timing. So you've perfected a build. So let's stick with this build. You're really good at it. Let's see what we can do. Okay. So we've got 3 adepts. Now, why are we building an immortal? That makes no sense. Why are we building an immortal and then we only have money to warp in 2 or 3 adepts? That makes no sense right now. Why would we be doing that? Unless you're planning to do the immortal mass adept all-in follow-up where you join 2 immortals up, like, you know, your adepts finish whatever they're doing and you just keep warping in adepts and then you go with 2 immortals in the warp prism and you do the one where their army comes out to fight you, you shade past and you drop the immortals on the high ground and you join up with the immortal adept and then the roaches try to like fight up the ramp and your immortal adept's just wailing on them. That's a cool all-in. That's a really cool all-in you could do. But otherwise, why would we be putting an immortal if we're planning to go 3rd? Does he know the opponent's on roaches? It doesn't matter. Why would you build an immortal this early? Unless we're planning to all in. We don't have gases on our natural, we're not probing, and we're literally cutting money out of our bank, potentially, that could be used for warping into depths. Now, I don't know if that actually slowed us down in this scenario, but I would say an observer is much higher priority to get information in the follow-up of what's happening, and to clear creep and stuff like that, than building an immortal. So, let's see. Okay, we do have enough money to warp in 4 adepts there. We're going to shade forwards. Now, always try to threaten 2 bases at once. Good cancel. Yeah. Okay, so we leave the prism outside, do we? Or, oh god, the prism's just clicking straight over the 3rd into the main. That's very dangerous. Luckily, only 1 queen there. All right, let's take a look. All right. So already, I think we see the huge problem. Because this question was about how do I macro behind this? And Ran Out of Name has set themselves up for failure, guys. We don't even need to look any further. Because we're building an immortal, so we're not setting up for macro, we're setting up for an all-in, and we're not queuing any probes. We've got money right now after those adepts, and we don't have any extra pylons. So I get we're trying to hit the fastest possible timing, but surely you should be building 2 pylons and queuing probes up as this goes in, or at least 1 pylon. You're like, maybe I'm going to lose a bunch of adepts, so that's all good. But what in the scenario where you don't lose the adepts? You're just building nothing behind this, right? So it's definitely something you want to actually focus on what you're doing. See, yeah, Max Sand's saying, oh, here's the money. If you want to follow up with the timing attack, the Immortal's really good. So the problem is you're not building probes, you're not taking gases. So it's an all-in if you're doing that. It is an all-in. You are not going to build any more probes this game. Otherwise, why would you build the Immortal this early? You can get Immortals out in plenty of time. So, you know, it's easy to say, oh, he has the money. But it's like, wait a second, why aren't we building a Nexus if we want to go to a 3rd Nexus, right? You've got to make these decisions. This should be mapped out ahead of time. And at the very least, even if we're sloppy on our macro, what is a golden rule of StarCraft? Before you enter a micro scenario, do extra macro, okay? Because what did he say? He's like, oh, I'm doing more damage to myself than I am to my opponent. So even when I kill a ton of probes, I'm dead. And I'm like, yeah. Super Turtle player was this like the silver TBT, right? These are obviously all just in chronological order. I can't remember what that one's name was, but anyway. Ran Out of Name, ZVP, Adept Pressure. Golden rule, before you enter a micro situation, do more macro. Do your macro. Queue up extra macro. Maybe you normally queue 2 probes, queue 4 probes, right? Ran Out of Name says, this is probably one of my worst games with this build. That's what people always say. And then if I'm coaching them, we look through and they can never find a good replay. They're like, no, I swear they're always better than this. And I'm like, where is it? And they're like, no, it's normally it's better. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's, trust me, we always make mistakes with these builds. Don't deflect. Don't deflect. I'm sure you do some things way better some games, but then you make different mistakes, right? We always make different mistakes. The point is it's not consistent. It's not mapped out, okay? So this is a really important goal. Before you enter a micro situation, do your macro, queue up extra macro, right? Because the problem, this addresses the key problem. If we micro for 30 seconds, we aren't macroing for that 30 seconds, okay? So if we haven't macroed for 30 seconds before entering that micro situation, which is often the case, staring at our army as we move across the map and warping in, then we've gone 1 minute without macro. So what's 1 minute without macro? That costs us, how long does a probe take to build? 12 seconds, even without chronos. So how many probes can you build in a minute on 2 Nexus, guys? 5 plus 5. That costs us 10 probes. That costs us a huge... That costs us 10 probes, not even counting chronos. Right? Now, on the other hand, what if we queue up 3 probes per Nexus? 30 seconds later, we jump home, and probes, the last probe is still finishing. Uninterrupted probe production, right? So that's what's really key is to think of. Now, obviously, it's not always just probe production. It could be your upgrades you could have started behind it. Building a 3rd Nexus. Your 3rd Nexus could finish in that time. A 3rd Nexus Takes 70 seconds. It could be finished, right? So this is something, especially for Terran players, it's huge. But in general, if you get distracted and a drop comes in, you don't get a chance to do this, right? A drop comes in, you're going to be busy just trying to defend it and keep your probes alive. But if you're the one who's picking a fight with your opponent, and especially if you do this every game, you're like, every game, around 4:45, I'm shading 7 adepts into their base. You're the one who's picking the fight. So you always get to choose, hey, as I'm moving across, queue up extra probes, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Now, obviously, it's harder in this scenario where you're like, I need to make sure I have enough money for those adepts because I'm trying to hit a very sharp timing. So it's easy to fall into the trap of not doing it. But at the very least, after you warp in those adepts, you might build something like... So into your build, you can build a habit, a chunk. Something like warp in 4 adepts, add to control group, jump home, build 2 pylons, and queue as many probes as you can. And then micro your push, right? And then when our micro is done, we have a list. 3rd Nexus, Chrono Immortal. We could also build Observer as well, right? 3rd Nexus, Chrono Immortals, Forge plus charge, charge upgrade, rally probes to 3rd, take 3rd and 4th gas. Whatever your build is, it's up to you. I always hate it when I do a little list like this, people like writing it down and they're like, I gotta do those things. I'm like, if you want, I'm just throwing out some ideas. The point is you have a set order. So when you jump back from an attack and your adrenaline's pumping and you're freaking the hell out, you're not trying to frantically cast your mind around and figure out what to do. You're just doing a set play. And you're just like, oh yeah, take me 3rd, go for the forge, go for the charge, take the 2 gases, put probes on that, rally my probes to my 3rd. And you'll get everything done more consistently and way more organized. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can also just select the Nexus key and tap E while watching the Adept shade, as Maxan says. So if you've built those pylons, you don't have any money, you could at this point, as your Adepts are in there, select the probes and just queue up heaps of the Nexus and queue heaps of probes, right? If you didn't have the money before that, but then bam, 10-20 seconds of mining, there you go, you got it. So we get a drone here. Oh, we're moving towards the roaches, which is a little sloppy. We get an extra drone for it, so it's not too bad. And okay, what are we gonna... Oh no, shift click. Oh, well, I guess we kill the queen, so it actually works out. Fair enough. Interestingly, we only warped in 2, I guess because we're supply blocked. That makes sense. Pretty good micro. Unfortunately, those 2 adepts didn't shift click. Shift click on the drones, definitely something we want to be using a little bit more of. There we go. The adept shift click there, unfortunately, you can see they had a move command before the shift click. So you guys are going to be really careful. If you guys have clicked your adept somewhere and then you give them a shift click to attack, they've got to touch that piece of ground before they're allowed to attack the drones. You see the green line marks that? Common mistake. So what you can do is you can click them next to where they are and then shift click the drones, or you can press stop and then shift click on the drones. I missed my right click, says Ryan. That's a common one. And that's why I do the same thing. I try to tell myself, slow down in those situations. Just rather than it's always better to accurately do a couple of slow clicks. And I have to remind myself of the same thing because that's one that's really easy to screw up. That's a real common one, right? But yeah, overall your micro is really good. And yeah, you're infinitely ahead on workers. But remember, the longer you stare at a pressure, you have diminishing returns, right? So the longer you look at the attack, we've been looking at the attack from about 4:40 when we warped in those adepts, 4:35, almost a full minute. And just now we selected a Nexus and we built 1 probe. Maybe we were supply blocked, we tried to build more than that. So that the point is, the first, especially if you queue up the macro beforehand, the first 30 seconds cost you almost nothing with macro at home, right? Other than starting upgrades and buildings that need you to look at it. But then the next 30 seconds, probes aren't building. Money's starting to stack up. So the important thing is I want you guys to develop this concept in your head of the longer you're looking at a push and microing it or a harassment, the more damage it needs to be getting for that to be worthwhile. So that's the cost-benefit analysis that you're making, okay? Yeah. So the longer you look at a push or harass, the more it costs you. So at a certain point, just ignoring the last 4 adepts and just going home to macro and accepting you're, you know, missing out on some drones is totally fine. That's totally, and maybe you shade them away to safety, go home, come back 30 seconds later when you've done all your macro to micro them, right? But that's really key, because this is at the core of creating a system for multitasking, right? Because it's not really a system. It's you do this, you micro your adepts, then you go do your macro. People are like, I'll do everything at once. So you can see, at this point, it's obvious we're not getting that much damage anymore. They're already doing whatever they're going to do. Prism should get out of there. We should leave. Why are we warping adepts in, right? Why did we go home and build 1 gateway? Really inefficient. So our screen jumped home to build a gateway and then just leave the probe there. And that's it. And our probe nexus rally point got changed to this nexus. So we went home to build a gateway and mess up our rally points. And warped in another 2 adepts and lost our warp prism. So this is like really common. And I now totally forgive Ran Out of Name for making shitty excuses in chat before and saying this is one of my worst executions, because definitely the tail end of this is pretty sloppy. All you should be doing right now, you did so much damage, is building immortals and gateways and zealots and stuff, but yeah, we're not doing that. We still, this is the first pylon we've built in like 3.5 minutes in this game. No, why are we moving out? He's all in. You killed his economy. Stay back. Oh my God. Pull back, pull back, pull back. All right. But yeah, it's 7 minutes, so we could have taken the 3rd and had army production up and had 8 gateways going, right? We've got the money for it. We just never batched up a bunch of gateways or anything. So it just felt like your opening was pretty well defined, but you didn't have a concept of what you're doing behind the push. You built an immortal, and then you didn't build any other immortals. You could have had 4 immortals, right? We could have done a 2-base charge lot all in and had 20 zealots and 3 immortals out here. Super easy. If you're shift clicking, is it right or left click? Left click selects things, so that's not going to do anything. You can't shift left click things. That doesn't do anything. Only shift right click. Shift right click does smart commands. It'll give a move command if you're on the ground. It'll attack if you're attacking it. You can also do a click, a shift click, which is what I do a lot of the time as well. That way, if you misclick on the ground, they at least still are attack moving. But yeah, you definitely could have won here if you just kept building immortals and zealots. You would have been all right. But I think we've already introduced enough concepts for that game. So pretty tight opening. You will destroy people with that build. Just remember, like, give it a set cutoff point. After the first adept warp in the main, so you do an adept warp in the front, then an adept warp in the main. That's it. Just if you guys, a lot of people struggle to pull back and focus on the macro, just give yourself a set point. You're like, that's the maximum number of adepts I ever commit to. It's decided beforehand. If you guys struggle to make decisions in the heat of the moment, don't make decisions in the heat of the moment. Just make the decision beforehand. You're like, okay, I go for the 7 adepts, and then I warp in 4 more in the main, and that's it. And then it's beautiful. It's all sorted for you. Pig, please restore my dignity. I've always struggled to find early game roach pressure in PvZ. This isn't great, but it's one of the many builds that I die to. I wouldn't normally be overly fixated on it. However, my son has recently adopted ZERG as his main race and has discovered my weakness. Obviously, this is now a critical situation, as I simply cannot allow my 10-year-old to consistently take maps off me with ease. In a normal ladder game, I could, of course, soothe my ego by dropping a few salty comments about my opponent's parentage. But clearly that isn't ideal here. Yeah, you can't call his mum a whore or anything like that. It's not going to go too well here, is it? It goes without saying, I cannot insult his mother and rage quit. I am not that brave a man. I need help to restore order to my household and maybe even improve my PvZ win rate on ladder as well. You're my only hope, Pig. I need to know how to easily crush this early roach pressure and how, in so doing, show my son why he should have picked Protoss instead of ZERG. Until I have mastered this skill, I will continue to live in shame, suffering from my recurring nightmares, which I go to my son, hat in hand, asking for coaching advice, only for him to inform me, the future is now, old man. Are you legit 3100 now, Swiss? I guess that's actually not that much higher than you used to be, right? I just think of you guys team games being such silly poop shoots that I think of you as being a silver player, I guess. Wait. You're asking advice on how to beat a roach rush? You're cannon rushing your child? If you built another pylon here, it's game over. You dirty bastard. You dirty bastard, you. Alright, guys. So, struggles to defend roach pushes after a cannon rush. Well, the priority is always, because you're going to try and bait them into building cannons, essentially, a lot of the time with a cannon rush. Definitely is a big priority on starting that Stargate is huge. And getting a Void Ray out is going to be the easiest thing to follow up with, right? Because your tech's very delayed. Often your expansion's pretty well timed if the cannon rush went well, comparatively. Yeah, so Stargate's there. We're going to go for the Void Ray soon. He comes in and drops some cheese icons. Haha! Baby Swiss dropping cheese on his dad. Let's go, mate. Let's go. Kick his ass, baby. Baby Swiss. Let's go. Get him. I think we're all cheering for Baby Swiss here. Defends a cannon rush. Yeah, you built an Oracle instead of a Void Ray, you dummy! So the Oracle should obviously come back and try to focus all the Lings down. And we should be building extra... We should be walling off with a gateway there and another like gateway there. Just anything to buy time here with this wall off. But apparently we have no map vision. We also rallied our Oracle into their main without watching it, which is an absolute disaster. And then waste the energy killing drones! What a noob! We built an Oracle. We didn't even look at the scouting. We had like a minute of scouting of his army. Oh, no. And now we're putting probes into the meat grinder. You suck, Swiss. You suck. Sorry, I'd be much nicer, but you cannon rushed your 10-year-old son, dude. This is just justice enacting itself. The future is here, old man. I mean, there's nothing to learn from this game. Just build a Void Ray first. And that way you get free kill, free kill, free kill. Or go Oracle into Void Ray by default. Or just watch your Oracle as it flies through the middle of the map. Any of those solve this scenario. Whenever you're getting rushed early on in PvZ, it's always wall off with big structures completely, build an extra cannon or battery behind, and build either Void Rays or Stalkers and Adepts behind it. Any of those and you'd be good. He should have brought a drone and dropped a spray tag there as well. I agree. Shame the roaches didn't get in the main mineral line. He's got Ling speed on the way behind it. There we go. Unfortunately, the roaches didn't get in the mineral line, so tell Baby Swiss to move his units right in the mineral line next time. Because until you pulled your probes, a lot of those units weren't actually fighting. GG, well played. Heck yeah, Baby Swiss. Revenge. Also, I think we saw there the power of Ling speed. If you have Ling speed with these sort of pushes, it's massive. I like how he's like, how do I stop this? And all I'm going to do is coach Baby Swiss on how to do it better. So don't bother with the lair. Make sure you're injecting both hatcheries. And if you see a Stargate, which I guess we did see earlier in this game. So just try to, yeah, you can build a spore in each mineral line. But basically spend all your gas on making every roach into a... So start Ling speed, then make your 4 roaches. Or you can make the roaches, then the Ling speed, and you want to spend all your gas making those into Ravages as you move across the map. That's going to allow, even if he walls off, you can like bile down the cannon really quickly, because it only takes like 6 or 7 biles to kill that. And then once Ling speed kicks in, you have such like a big flood of Zerglings coming in behind. So your Ravages basically just help open the wall up, break down anything in the wall, and then your Ling flood will kill everything behind it. So get on it, Baby Swiss. Don't hide this from him, Swiss. You gotta give this to Baby Swiss. Baby Swiss is gonna take all your ladder points. Stupid dad. Stupid dad. I think in default, if you struggle against these sort of things, this is why having a full wall off by default is something like Rocker and stuff like to do. You guys know Rocker likes to cannon rush, and then he full walls, and when he wants to take a third, if he doesn't have a probe hidden on the map, he does the building trick where he builds a building and squishes his probe through his wall so he can then get out there and expand. And that way, if he gets surprised by an attack, they can't really run in. So he always buys himself a lot of extra time just by having a full wall by default. So if you want to be a real scumbag, you can do that too. I don't know why I'm telling you that. It's a real scummy move. All right, guys. So Uncle Toby here is a 5K Protoss player. And Uncle Toby was asking, hey, what are some... how can I held Proxy Marauder all in with 3 barracks, open Stargate, and had batteries, and I still died? I mean, if he expands, he's just dead. Okay. All right, so we should already know what's happening at this point, guys. So if you scout in there and you see only single gas and then a second depot, that means they're doing something very naughty to you. Why? Because, well, he should be building a command center right now if it's a 1-Rex expand. So why is he building a depot? Now, it could just be he wants to trap the probe, delays his command center by 100 minerals, not the end of the world. That's an option, but I would immediately, in this circumstance, grab a probe and go looking for proxies. That's what I would do, for sure. And we're going to see a tech lab, which cements what we should already be suspecting in that case. Let's take a look. Let's see if Uncle Toby clued onto that. Now, if we put a Stargate down, every second matters here on that Stargate. Pretty quick. We're pretty quick. We're making an Adept. Adepts are not great versus Marauders. I prefer Zealots and Stalkers. Obviously, opening with an Adept's not bad. We're building a shield battery as well. Yeah. If we sent a probe out and found this, we'd be good. I know technically you could have an expansion, but funnily enough, a battery in the main is actually more important than down there. And it's just the scouting that matters. So we're checking the back, we're checking the front. Yeah, we just didn't look for proxies. You really want to look for proxies, and you just want to go for Void Ray, right? Now you pull some probes, but you've chased too far from your batteries. Yeah, they can kite, and that's just the way it is. But this is why you want Stalkers, because you want proper range damage. If you don't have Stalkers, you're in big troubles. Good probe pull, but just pull back. Do you have battery overcharge? Oh, we don't have overcharge. Fuck. That's bad. 17. You still want to pull back and use the battery healing where you can. Adepts want to focus fire Marines and SCVs if possible, because they do bonus damage, of course, which you're doing. But yeah, you need to get a Void Ray. You got a battery in the main, so you might be able to fight. And yeah, always shade backwards so you can chase him down, and that's your insurance. So maybe if you shaded back earlier, you could have done that a bit better. Heal the pylon, heal the pylon, heal the pylon. Good micro. And the Oracle's here. And you got a Void Ray on the way. Yeah, you should be fine. Oh, damn. We just got battery overcharge energy a second too late. That sucks. I've actually survived a lot of Terran 1 base all-ins recently. Alright. Oh, we should have pulled probes already because we've got that overcharge there. Yeah. Good probe pull. Alright, we can run our probes away. That's actually a valid decision here. Yeah. Alright, chrono probes. Nah, yeah, it's just a bit too late on the Void Ray. If it was a Void Ray instead of an Oracle, we would have kept all these probes alive and been fine. But literally just scout. That's it, Uncle Toby. Yeah. Just send one probe because your build is almost exactly the same and you just scout everywhere for proxies. And after scouting for the proxies, if you don't find anything, you can send it like from the bottom side of the map into the base, right? If you know it's Marauders, go Void Ray first. I think the Oracle first is fine if you don't find a proxy. But if you hunt for the proxy, then yeah. Probe says even if you don't scout. Are you saying go Void Ray first even if you don't scout in this scenario? Even if you went Adept, no, yeah. He's saying even if you went one Adept then one Stalker, you would have done a lot better. Yeah, Stalker's much better. Much better on the defense. Because the Stalkers can shoot the Marauders, so they can't kite them, yeah. Obviously, Stalkers get hammered by Marauders, so it's always a little bit weird. The other thing you can do is you can abandon the natural, right? You actually, yeah. So sometimes if I realize what's up here, I don't even build this stuff on the natural often. I'll just be like, yeah, screw it. I'm just going to build a second gate in the main, build a battery there, get a Void Ray, and I'm happy for you to kill my Nexus. Like, I do not care about being put back to one base as long as I take efficient fights. Arguably, the Stalker there, saving energy for the battery as well, may be better than chronoing the Oracle or the Void Ray. I don't know. It's questionable. That was pretty all in, man. GG's though, good question. I've won so many games versus one base all-ins where I have no idea it's coming. Because you know I do a lot of gas first, no scout, Uncle Toby. I like lose my natural or I lose 20 probes in my main to like, I guided a one base Hellion Marauder and I still win the game. Like I kill so many Terran players that completely surprise me with all-ins. Yeah, it seems scary. When they're doing stuff like that, they are desperate to kill you. Keep that in mind. It's that little bit of perspective like, no, this guy needs to kill me. Makes you feel way better, dude. Way better. Yeah. So what was the main lesson from that one, guys? It was basically one gas Terran should be going straight for CC. Second depot equals big tell of aggression. Just send a probe to look for proxies. Then check their natural after. That's it. Yeah. It'll change your experience massively. Alright guys, we got a 3300 diamond game from Ambition's End, aka Mr. Arseholio. What a legend. Oh my god, that's a hilarious name. Oh, this is great. What are some things I can do to improve efficiency-wise? I feel like I have an alright understanding of concepts, but I'm slow and sloppy, typical Protoss player. Alright. So, let's see, 3300 is like Diamond 3. So we're going, is this a 13 pylon? So, this is a classic not changing the rally point back mistake. So that is 14 pylon. I don't think 14 pylon's early enough for you to block a 16 hatch on this map. So, we might as well just scout after gate if we're going to do that, I would say. Yeah, this probe's here too early. So you could, I mean, I guess it's not too bad to send it down here a little bit early. But we'll see. We should be getting that gate and chronoing pretty fast. Chrono! There you go, not bad. Gas. Gas! Gas! Good. Yeah, we weren't able to block the hatchery. So why don't, I would say in general, just build the gateway. And scout after the gateway so you don't have to send 2 probes down, right? So that way you can just build the pylon, build the gate, go scout. That's what I would advise. Doesn't change too much. Your build looks fine. If you're going to play Stargate, you should pull 1 worker off minerals onto gas here. Allows you to get the Stargate much quicker. So you go 15 out of 16 on minerals for the early game if you're playing Stargate, which I don't know if you are or not. Wall off placement looks pretty good. Second gas goes down, but we haven't put the third guy on that gas yet. There we go, fixing that. Change the rally point. Check our control groups. Scouting probes on a hotkey, Nexus and a gateway on a key, all good. Yeah, these are good habits. Arsolio's playing a pretty good game, guys, but because there's no warp gate, yeah, definitely pulling the worker off minerals onto gas. Oh no, we're going Twilight. Never mind. Twilight, then warp gate. Interesting. So it's almost like a fake Stargate with that. Eh, whatever goes. Probe's doing a lot of scouting. Interesting. Advanced patrol path there to see what's up. Keeping the Adept at home in the wall. Stalker there. So the problem with not scouting with your Adept, guys, is you don't know if he's droning or not. He could literally come at you with 5 billion lings and you'd have no idea. The advantage is you've got a unit in the wall already. It's a give take. It's up to you guys. I always prefer to send the Adept in because I could have shaded in and said, ooh, you know, oh, he doesn't have any drones. Or in this case, I'd be like, ah, he's an okay number of drones. Like this is it's a big pack of lings, 10 already, but it's a pretty late pack. So it wouldn't have changed anything in this game, but just something to keep in mind. If this defense isn't working well for you, sometimes you can go across and you can just see, oh, there's no drones on the natural. I know I'm being all in. Full wall my base, recall the Adept, build a shield battery. Easiest hold of your life, right? But reacting on the fly sometimes a lot harder. So it just depends what's working for you. There's never, people will be like, oh, so this is bad. And I'm like, if you're not getting punished for it, it's perfectly fine. We have a lot of energy on our Nexus, which tells us our chrono boosting probes is kind of sucked. So, because like we've got like 1, 2, 3 chronos saved up right now, almost 4. On the other hand, your building timings look really tight. So the problem with chronoing probes is it makes it harder to afford those early buildings straight away because you're spending all your money on probes, but it gives you a lot more money in the aftermath. So what I'd advise here is that we definitely need to be chronoing the Robo, the Prism. It's really bad to not be chronoing that Robo because your whole build here seems to be lined up around hitting a very crisp DT timing, so it's very important that we actually hit that. Okay, let's see how we go here. Yeah, that Prism's really late because the DT Shrine's already finished. And we're like about 8-10 seconds later because of the Prism. Ooh, Unsiege, get in behind there. All right, so in this scenario, you can A-move, but I would say focusing on the hatchery is the best thing to just go. If they don't have detection, just kill the hatchery. Obviously, if you can kill some drones, that's great, but then click on it. And then your Prism should definitely be down here as well, ready to save. Your DTs, we're going Charge and an Immortal, which tells us we aren't really focusing on a third. Because otherwise we should have already started that third base behind this. Because the moment your opponent sees DTs, they got to pull everything back to defend, right? So you can kind of take a naked third with this build simply because it forces your opponent to focus everything on the defense. However, you're building probes, which tells us you do want to take a third. So I would say it's not the worst getting charge and a robo here, but I would like to see a quicker third if we're going for it. Or if we're going for a 2-base all-in, we should have cut probes at 44. All right, DTs are going to pull back. We should just tell those to unload somewhere. That's way too close. We should unload across the gap, because if we morph Archons here, they could just A-move this and kill it. So this is presenting a free target to your opponent. Very sloppy. Always go across a cliff or a gap if you can to try and hide it so they don't just get the free kill, yeah? All right, so behind this, we're making Immortals, Archons, Probes, and the Nexus. This Nexus could have been down way sooner. So what do I always do? Before I even warp in my DTs, I always grab a probe and I click it on the minerals and shift click it here so that when I'm done microing and I tell those DTs to pick up and go back, I go back, build a Nexus, build a Pylon, and then I go for like, Immortal or Observer I prefer first to get vision, charge, Forge. I like the double Robo Forge, so I had a second Robo and a Forge. You guys know I love my double Robo play. But yeah, definitely we could be a little bit quicker on that. So usually people will have a really tight first 4 or 5 minutes of the game. And then from there, it feels like they just haven't put the attention to detail on it. Because there's naturally a lot of different variants, different variable things. They start to get in this mode of they're like, oh, from there I just kind of do things. And I'm always like, well, you know what's better than just kind of doing things? It's if you like just have a set plan that you can do. Because you know how you're really tight in those first 4 minutes of the game because you have a plan and you're just doing it? Makes things really easy, man. Makes things really easy. So we're going double Forge. We've built an Immortal. I would love an Observer. Having an Observer just to see if an attack's coming. Sometimes you can get that between their bases as well. Could be great. Not in this game. This guy has like 17 Spores and 2 Overseers. That'd be great. This is a very greedy follow-up, though. So the problem is, like, yeah, this counterattack could cause you some trouble, right? Because we don't really have that many units. So definitely, the third's a bit late. We don't have a battery at it. A battery really helps you defend. The Immortal needs to be over here. It would have smashed these units. Warping in Zealots is pretty good, though. Good focus on the Archon from him. Good pickup from you. Do not drop that again. Do not drop it. Don't. Keep it in your pants. Keep it in your prism. That's the saying, guys. Keep it in your prism. He's dropping a 0 shield Archon on these roaches. You greedy lad. Right. As cool as that micro is, this is low value micro. You killed 3 roaches while floating 1,200 minerals. So what would have been better there is if we started 1-1, built 6 gateways in our main, chronoed probes. Or not even chronoed, just transferred probes, sorry. So don't get carried away with the micro. As fun as that was, now let's watch if after getting carried away with the micro, are we quick to jump back into the macro? And is it organized? Because we always get carried away with micro sometimes. That's not bad in of itself. I'm criticizing it. It's not bad. If you guys over micro, it's fine as long as you're organized after you over micro. So let's watch the vision on the camera and see. All right, so we're pulling that back. We're going to unload the Archons there, make a few Zealots, hopefully kill these Overseers. We just scrolled to our natural rather than camera locationing. Fair call. We don't use cameras. It happens. We just transferred workers. But we didn't change the rally point? No, we did. We changed the rally point. Okay. We're going to take the gases. Gas. Cannon battery. Good. Double upgrades. Awesome. So Templar Archives and then 6 gateways has got to be next, surely. Templar Archives, obviously, because we've got 1,000 gas. This is logical. This makes sense. We're still building probes. We've already got more probes than we need. So, hot tip. How do you make your build better from here? And just climb up the ranks. Stop at 60 probes, even if you're taking the gases. Why? Because your main's going to mine out in 1 minute. 8 minutes 30, at the latest 9 minutes. This patch, and this patch are all going to mine out. These two are already on 50 and 85 minerals. They're going to disappear in the next 30 seconds. So you're going to have an excess of 8 workers in your main, which you could transfer down here. So rather than the 66 workers, which you're building even more on top of, which you absolutely have no use for those probes. You have 9 probes queued right now. Each one of those is each 3 probes is a gateway. So that's 3 gateways, plus you've almost got enough money for 3 gateways. So you almost have enough money for 6 gates. One of the biggest problems that Protoss players have when they're climbing the ladder is never building their gateways until like 4 minutes after they could have. Same way I see a Terran player, really tight opening. They get the 3 barracks up really early. They're floating thousands of minerals. They're on 6 command centers, and they finally decide to build some more barracks. Getting those building timings down is really, really key. So if you stop at 60 probes, even 58, so you can basically have the mineral line fully saturated, and it's not even important to take the gases because you've already got enough gas to make heaps of Archons and chargelets, right? Let's say you take the gases anyway. I've only got 8 workers on minerals. That's fine. 8 minutes 30 every game. And I always tell people of all races to do this, guys. If you're doing a fast expand build, 8 minutes 30, always go to your main at 8:30, grab 8 workers, send them to your 3rd or 4th base. And it might still say 8 out of 16 then, because these mineral patches still have 10 minerals left on them. Use your own brain, guys. This number is an aid. It's not the end all be all. If you can build a habit, so every game at the exact same time, you remember to transfer those workers, you're not going to be 12 minutes in a game and realize, oh crap, 8 of these workers have been doing nothing for the last 4 or 5 minutes. So you build a habit so you don't have to think about it. It just becomes inbuilt, right? So that's awesome, number 1. Number 2, we're probing above 70 workers and we're on 4 gateways and 1 robo. What are we doing? Guys, there's sharp pressure into economy. Great. We did good economy, like really good economy at the start off just 1 adept, 1 stalker. Then we did great pressure with the DTs. Then we took a 3rd double forge. Now, after greed, you make army. What is Arsolio doing? Arsolio is going greed into aimless greed. In that we're just probing, we're building cannon, build a battery, we're going to take a 4th soon. We'll make 90 probes. We'll eventually remember to make gateways. Instead, we could be hitting our opponent at 8 minutes, 9 minutes with a brutal Immortal Archon Zealot timing that is a free win. Now, why is that a free win? Because we killed his 3rd and a bunch of stuff. We're up 20 workers already. We are already so far ahead economically. And I often tell people, until you get to Masters, don't ever build more than 66 workers. Because you're better off using those 66 workers well, or those 50 workers well, to hit a sharp attack, get an economic advantage, and then use that advantage. Punch them in the face. The longer you sit there aimlessly, I'll make 2-2, I'll make a 4th, we'll build some more probes, we'll take another base, the more chance your opponent has to be, I'm just going to build 40 drones, no army, and then make broodlords. And I can't believe it. My opponent gave me 5 minutes straight to get away with that. That's so silly. I was so far behind, and then I just win the game. So it's important to always have an attack timing in mind, even after your early pressure or whatever, okay? So that's kind of the structure for this build. And I know this build very well, because you guys know I love this build. Not doing it at the moment, but I will be going back to it at some point, I'm sure. And here we go. Gateway Explosion does go down. I gotta say, your SimCity disgusts me. I love you, Ambition's End. You're a legend, but what is that? You could have gone gate, 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 gate. You could have built 6 gateways just here in one big clump. What is this haphazard pattern? So what F's me off about this, what really pisses me off, is that you left a lot of 2-space gaps, which you can't fit buildings in. 2-space gap, can't fit a building in. 2-space gap, can't fit a building in. So the more of these you're going to put a pylon there, 2-space gap, can't fit a building in. So if you build right next to the pylon, you can fit a 3x3 structure and then another 3x3 structure all within the same placement field. So I also find when players do that, they're more efficient at putting their gateways down very quickly because the probe isn't running as far around and they just don't have to move their mouse cursor as much. Now, I still place like this sometimes when I'm in a very frantic game. It's not the end of the world. It's just one of those really nitpicky habits that I like to harp on about because I do think it really helps players out when they're a bit tighter on the building placement. All right. Oh, we're going Storm as well. Okay, wow. We're going really far up that tech tree. Okay. All right, 4th base. Going to break that down. We've still got the Archons in the Prism. So if you want to simplify your army usage, your Prism should just go set up in a corner and you basically just do Zealots from that side and then your High Templar Archon Immortal army attacks from the left. And you just try to bait them into choke points with the left army and then you just keep running Zealots in from the right. Super easy way to use this army to win the game. We're making a 2nd Robo, we're making more gateways, we've forgotten to start 2-2, we're building cannons and batteries everywhere. So what we're entering is EU virgin territory, guys. So Mr. Arsolio's been watching too much Neeb, Showtime, Geralt. You guys know how I always cast Europeans, and what do we regularly say? He's ahead. Let's see if he actually uses that lead, though. You'll notice I never say that when I'm casting Hero or a Korean player, right? because they just go kill their opponent when they're ahead. Neeb does that really well as well. Neeb's a good American example that you guys can draw an example of. The European players are like, oh, I'm going to build another base, another cannon, another battery, another upgrade. Oh, Dark has lurkers out and he's back in the game because I gave him an extra minute that I shouldn't have given him, right? Now, I think your army's still way better and you should still win this game, but you're giving your opponent a lot of opportunities. What could have been an 8-minute killer 3-base timing is now an 80 probe 4-base thing. We're also running into Roach Bane with Mass Zealot. Zealots, once they're on Banelings, are useless units in the frontal fight. But if you're posturing here with your army, and then all the Zealots are attacking from the right, he's got to go, oh shit, oh, what do I do? And then you're moving forward and storming him. That's good. One of the problems you're having here, of course, is you don't have control groups. So, no High Templar on a separate control group, no army in a separate control. It's your Archons are still inside your Warp Prism. Your army control looked pretty good earlier in this game. Just the lack of control groups for this makes me very uncomfortable. You did a good spread versus the Banelings. You landed a good storm. Man, the fact that that Prism has 2 Archons in it hurts my soul, dude. But yeah, this is a situation where they can like kite you, or another 10 Banes could roll in and kill all the Zealots, or some Banes could flank and kill your High Templar. But if you run the Zealots in there, warp in Zealots in the main, it's just a completely different story. So try to get used to army management, even if this is all just on number 1, just to make it easier to send Zealot run-bys in, and this army performs so well if you attack elsewhere with Zealots. Much easier to win games. Yeah. Even if they have like lurkers or something, you can just backstab way easier. If they get to Broodlords, same thing. Cool. Overall, pretty good game though, dude. I think having another timing attack in mind after the first one will make you a way tighter player, for sure. Maxpax goes and kills them. Yeah, absolutely. Maxpax actually has some great killer instinct. He's got a calculator in his brain, figuring out when he's weathered enough attacks, and he should be behind, but then he just goes and kills them. And you're like, what? Well played. Really good game, dude. Pig, for my game, would it be better if I transition into mech? Only if you want to. I would not transition to mech off bio. I would literally, like, if you want to get really advanced, you can add Ghost to the army, but I really feel like just set your army up a bit better. Yeah. And just do the 2-pronged. Like I said, send the distraction squad, go siege up, and just try to do that earlier. Try to do that more decisively. You will win so many games. So Bonemore, guys, is playing a PvZ. I want to get better with Stargate builds. Is there any way to get ahead without heavy harassment? I mean, you should always be harassing a Zerg. The best way to do it is to hit a sharp charge lot or adept timing. No prism required. Just to force them to build a lot of units. But if you want to use Stargate, you can. Now, you said they go Hydras or Mutas. If you're playing Stargate, the best, most solid way, you can see all the pros do it, is play Stargate into ground units, okay? So just get up a Void Ray, clear the Overlords, control the map, or a Void Ray and Oracle, or 2 Oracles, whatever you feel like. I think 1 or 2 Void Rays, and then just play ground is one of the best ways to play. And then you're playing ground units, you're playing proper units. Now, in terms of your build, it sucks balls. So that's one of the first things you guys want to focus on when you're improving, is try to not have a ball-sucking build. I know there's a lot of you out there, ball hogs. Tom Segura would be very proud of you all. But yeah, you know, your opponent really enjoys it, and yeah, you got to get away from that bad habit. Anyways, this pylon is blocking it. Just a little bit of a weird pylon positioning. I'd much rather that be out there. Just a bit awkward there. It's kind of interrupting your mining slightly. Not the end of the world. So the big question is, why do we have 2 pylons before Nexus, right? So in terms of build order, what was the MMR again? I don't know. Wasn't this pretty high level? Aren't you 3,900? So why is this your build? What's going on? 3,900, you're like Diamond 1 almost. What's going on, dude? Why are you doing a Silver League opening? I think what we're seeing is Bonemore has just lost confidence in this matchup, because this opening just sucks for no good reason. You're in Diamond 1? So what's with the build? Why are you building 2 pylons before Nexus? Is this normal? Or, like, I've got you in chat, so I'd love to hear, since you're a bit of a high level player, I don't mind a little bit of discourse in this one. Hot tip. I do usually prefer to build the second building straight away to make sure your choke point lines up, then fill in the gap, but it's okay. This will work just fine. Yeah, Yeah, I don't know what this opening is. So this opening is really bad for a Diamond 1 player. We're just putting ourselves way behind for no reason. And yeah, it's just a bit of an awkward build. I don't know why we're building a battery versus a normal opening as well. This is a pretty normal opening. I mean, the battery does thicken the choke point, but this is already a one-space overlap choke, so there's just no need for a battery and a zealot here because we're up against a hatch first, right? So we've got a slower Nexus. I found the Zerg do some cheese, and that pylon in the main is for a battery later. That pylon there will still get you a battery in the mineral line. You can build it there. Obviously, this one's maybe a bit easier to protect, but yeah. Maybe I'm too cautious. Well, you're scouting. So if you're going to do all this safety precautions and you don't scout at all, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense because you're not scouting. But you're scouting, so you can see he's played hatch first. So you just don't need any of this defense, right? So yeah, you're definitely a little bit paranoid and you're missing a bunch of probe production on your natural. Like even here, this is just 4 Zerglings and you're overreacting to it. We see, this is actually the first replay I've seen today that looks like this, but Bone Maw, I guarantee you, when you're confident, you are up 5 probes, maybe 8 probes from what you will be in this game by the 5-minute mark. Because you're at an MMR, your other matchups are probably way better than this matchup because you're more confident in them. But when you see a Zerg on the loading screen, you're screwing yourself. And everybody has a moment. I do this sometimes. I go, oh shit, I'm so bad in PvP right now. And I mind game myself and I start making unnecessary mistakes. The trick is when you guys are struggling with something, go back to basics. Write your build order out in detail. Follow a really solid pro opening. If you're scouting with a probe, don't need any extra safety precautions. Just do a standard opening. Stargate in the wall, totally unnecessary. If you want to build it there, go for it. I would not. I'd build it in the main, so it's safer, but it's totally up to you. So obviously it's cheaper to wall off with the Stargate, but it gives away the information. Up to you what you want to focus on. It could get focused down by an early rush, which would suck. On the other hand, it pops out Void Rays and Oracles right in the heat of the action to defend a rush. There's gives and takes there, right? Are we never doing 2 pylons before Expo? The only reason you do that is if you're doing some sort of pressure. You're pumping out Zealot. Maybe you're doing 2 gate before Nexus, or you're doing a really quick. Yeah, basically it's only if you're building Zealots before the Nexus. Otherwise, there's no reason to. Unless you're doing a 1-base build, of course. If you're doing a 1-base build, you're not planning to build a Nexus in the first place. So your natural saturated. Your natural should be saturated at 4 minutes, right? I think it is. If you're chrono boosting probes with no units. No, with units. Usually it's 4 minutes, isn't it? That you chrono. Yeah. Because remember, with 2 Nexus producing probes, yeah, the minerals, not the gases, of course. It should be right about 4 minutes is when you should hit 16 workers on your natural guys. Remember, a Nexus can build a probe in 12 seconds. So in 1 minute, it builds 5 probes. It builds 5 probes, not including chronos. So even at this point, if we were to build probes nonstop, we've already got 4 probes down there and 1 about to pop. 5 probes. We could build 10 more and be at 15 out of 16 by 4:15. And that's even here with the slow Nexus and a sloppy opening. So yeah. All right, so go back to basics first of all. All right. Now beyond that, are you dead in this game? No, you're not dead. I think you'll be able to recover from here fine, but there is like a lot of chronoing probes and not having an extra probe queued up. That's really bad. Always queue extra probes. Guys, whenever I chrono a Nexus, I have 3 probes queued on that Nexus at least. Because look, we're cutting tons of probes right now. We're only on 33 workers, only on 10 workers on the natural. We're also sitting in our corner. We're paranoid right now. Why is the Void Ray not gone? What would I do with that Void Ray when it pops? I would send it here. I'd go do A move over this pillar, A move over this pillar. I wouldn't go to the corner. I wouldn't find that. And then I'd go and I'd A move here, 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 here. All on one shift command. So that Void Ray is naturally going to go around and kill stuff. Hey, NXZ and Probe in the chat. Guys, when's the qualifier for PAX? There's a PAX tournament on for StarCraft. Last minute. Is that later today, guys? Very last minute. Yeah, so we're just way behind on workers from where we could be. Now, if you do open with a Void Ray first, you should still get an Oracle after that so you have some scouting. You can go 2 Void Rays if you want to. And what you can do is you can come in from the edge. So your Void Ray comes in and you just shift click these 2 drones and shift click it away. And unless they react really quickly, you'll kill 2 drones, get out of there without losing anything but shields. Void Rays have really good range and a lot of shields on them compared to an Oracle. So they're actually not bad harassment units at lower levels, right through to low GM really. I regularly fly in and kill 2 or 3 drones with a Void Ray, get out of there. So yeah, you could do that on both edges with the Void Rays. But the point is, from there, swap into ground and go for it hard. So in this game, it's like, okay, we're building batteries at a base. We're very paranoid. Everything just kind of reeks of paranoia. We're going double robo charge. Once again, we're not building probes nonstop though. Constant gaps in probes. We haven't transferred probes to our third or rallied out there. And then I feel like this game up to this point was all just us waiting for the Zerg to do some bullshit and kill us. And because of that, we haven't got nearly as much stuff as we should have. We're floating over 1,000 minerals. And then he comes in and basically all of our fears are verified here. And we go, ah, see? Just some Zerg bullshit. All we need to do is activate the overcharge here. We wouldn't lose a single unit. For some reason, we had a Void Ray in the back of the enemy natural as well, which makes no sense. What was going on there? Why is there a Void Ray? Wait, we're scouting with a Void Ray? Oh, don't do that. Use an Oracle. If you guys want to scout, send an Oracle or Hallucination. Don't send a Void Ray around the back of their base. That's silly. That's very silly. Oh my lord. And now we're building a Robo Bay and cannons. We've still not got gateways or our money. Yeah, you're just traumatized, Bonemore. You need a build, man. And yes, you want to have timing attacks in mind. None of this, oh, I'm making Void Rays, then I'm making Immortals, then I'm making Colossus, then I'm making Charge, but not actually making Zealots. There's no direction. This build is listless. It has no direction. It is afraid, and it's waiting for the opponent to do whatever they want to us. And we have no good answers to anything because we're trying to build a bit of everything. We're paranoid and we're afraid. This sounds harsh, but what's so good is when you realize you're playing like this, Bonemore, you literally just play confidently next time, and you're going to see a completely different game. Write your build down. Have a timing attack in mind. Maybe it's 2 Void Rays, and then you do a 3-base charge lot attack. Keep it really simple. If you want to keep it simple, don't take gases on your third or your natural. 2 Void Rays into Twilight, make charge, make 8 gateways, go attack with 24 Zealots and 2 Void Rays at the, I don't know, 7-minute mark, 6-minute 30 mark, something like that. Keep it simple. Really easy. Hey, talking about Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the most disgusting noob in the world. I've never seen such a low-skill StarCraft player be such a god of build orders. Exactly like NXZ says, he creates game states that he likes and the opponents are confused by. He's actually like, I'm legitimately going to do a series where I just copy his build orders and see how high on the ladder I can get, because they're actually so disgustingly good. He doesn't let his opponents play their normal game at all. And like, do you guys see his overpool builds? Do you guys see his overpool builds? He's literally going 13 Overlord, 14 Drone, 14 Spawning Pool before the Overlord pops. I'm like, what? Or is it actually, I think it's 14 Overlord, 14 Spawning Pool. So yeah, he builds 2 drones, Overlord, Spawning Pool. And you're like, what? And he's like, hey, here's 6 Zerglings. And it's not a 12 pool timing, but it's also not a 16 pool timing. And the opponent's just like, am I playing NA ladder? This is the trashiest build I've ever seen in my life. And Ragnarok's just like, yeah, he was doing that in ZVZ. And he does like just a brutal 15 drone Jerry build. He's literally doing the Jerry build from 2011 and 2012 as the follow-up. It's great. He's just like, I'm just going to floodlings now. And you're like, what is happening? How is this working? And Solar and everyone, you can tell their brains are working overtime and they're just playing worse because they're so confused by what's happening. And then all of his roach pressures against TERRAN are sick. I mean, he has so many just disgusting builds, dude. He's actually an absolute savage. Yeah, Bonemore, go out there and chop your opponent's heads off, dude. Keep it simple. Keep it tight. Don't ever sit back and wait in StarCraft for your opponent to do stuff. Go do shit to them, and you'll play way more confidently. I really hope that helps you out, Bonemore. I think it will. Because if you're maintaining that MMR with the crap I just saw in that game, you are going to shoot way higher once you start being assertive. You will smash, dude. Good luck, my friend. I feel like my macro mechanics are good for gold. Oh no, famous last words. Now we have to roast him. This is from Gino. Oh, this is Gino. Are you still around, Gino? 2800. I've been doing Winter's Charge Lot Immortal Archon build, aiming to max at 12 minutes or so. Oh god. Max out. Guys, we've already figured out the issue. Never wait to max out. Go kill them well before then, please. I find it PvZ to count down until Lurkers wreck you. I prefer ground, but I know Skytoss is usually king in the matchup. What's a good thing for transitioning to Skytoss? off of a charged on a Mortal Archon build. Just don't. Just go kill them earlier. Stop dicking around. I know this is... Oh, but how do I transition? You need a 5 base economy up minimum. And then you would go for triple Stargate Fleet Beacon and start making carriers 3 at a time. That's how you do it. But you need a lot of gases and a lot of money and at least 85 probes to do that. What's way better is just killing them much earlier, much harder. So 2800 MMR puts us at Plat 2, I believe, guys. Is 2800 Plat 2 right now? I think it's about Plat 2, somewhere about there. So, right from the start, the second gateway is unnecessary because you probe scouted and you saw a hatch first, which means link speed isn't done till 3 minutes 30. So there's no need to build a gateway this early. Notice we've already got 200 gas. So we easily could have already put a structure down, whether it's a Twilight, a Robo, or a Stargate, whatever our choice is. So don't be going for the second gateway so early. It's super unnecessary. Yeah. Also, hot tip, set the rally point to the Cybercore with this gateway and you'll be fine. So we're building a Stargate, but that Stargate's super duper late. Stalkers will kill the Overlord. We're going to go for an Oracle and a Sentry. All right, this build sucks. So if you guys want to go for an Oracle... Hey, Nozzle was in the chat. What's up, dude? So if you want to go for an Oracle, just a general benchmark, you can start that off a normal build. And your opening looks pretty normal up until you drop that second gate. About 220 normally is when you can drop that. No later than 230, okay? And you see, you've got enough gas here, 225. So you could be dropping it even after going Warp Gate. Which tells me you're putting really heavily on gas really early. Okay, too heavily even. All right, yeah, you're mining gas a little bit harder than you need to early on. You only need 50, yeah, you don't want to drop below 15. You also did a second Chrono and Probes. You don't want to do a second Chrono and Probes in this matchup. You only want to do a single Chrono and Probes with any 1-gate expand build. You only want to do a, you know, if it's 1 gas. Like, unless you're doing, like, I know there's a PvP 1-gate expand where they double Chrono. But basically, all you're doing is speeding up these probes a tiny bit. That, like this one, like basically you save a little bit of time, but then you're not building probes anyway. So don't do the second Chrono and Probes. Only pull 1 worker off minerals onto gas. Otherwise, stay 15 workers on minerals, most on gas. Other than that, it should be Nexus, Cybercore, both on 20, not 21. 21's not the end of the world, but we're delaying it a bit there as well. So that took a little while to get the Cybercore down. And then we go second pylon, but we should be going second gas before second pylon. So in terms of solid opening, 16 gate, 17 gas, 20 Nexus, pause probing at 20, 20 Cybercore, build a probe, build a gas, so that's 21 gas, build another probe, build a pylon, so that's 22 pylon. I don't know if probe or someone, maybe, Reddit All Things Protoss has a ton of builds on it and stuff, but that's your standard 1-gate expand. And we shouldn't be stopping probe production at all. Notice we're not building probes here for a very long time. Only time we pause is on 20 to get the Nexus, the Cybercore, and then it's basically non-stop probing from then on. All right. Once again, we're pausing probe production for a little bit there, and the Stargate started at about 3 minutes, so it was about 30 to 40 seconds late. So Stargate can be down way earlier, and you can delay Warp Gate to afford the money. Now, the reason I really dislike it is we're going for Sentries and Stalkers really early here, but we've already got Stargate to cover us versus any sort of rush. So we really just don't need Sentries and Stalkers, because the Oracle gives us scouting and damage and air coverage. The Oracle and Void Ray does that, so we don't need the ground units as well. So if we do want to do some harassment, we can make some Adepts or some Zealots just to secure a third base, but we don't want to be going for Stalkers and Sentries, very gas-heavy units, and Oracles at the same time, because you're going to struggle to have enough money. Another thing is you can dump a lot more Chronos into your probes. Once that second pylon's up, so your 23 supply onwards, you can Chrono the crap out of your probes pretty hard, and this natural should be saturated 16 on minerals by 4 minutes. That's a benchmark. Probe is the one who introduced this stream to that benchmark. I didn't think about it before that. And thankfully people recommend it. So we're down 6 probes from where we could be in this game. So already, just cleaning your opening up is going to give you massive dividends. It's going to be huge, okay? Okay, let's take a look from here and see where we go. Because up to a really high level, this is totally salvageable. Up to a, like, even though I pointed out a lot of things you can do better, really easy, you know, actionable points, it's yeah, it is what it is. It's something where there's still a lot of chances to come back. So all right, let's watch how we micro this Oracle. All right, so this was a perfect opportunity. If there's no queen there, for you to use hold position micro, guys. So what you often see here is I'll see the spore, I see the queen's not even notice me. I'll just click my Oracle to here, press hold position, turn the laser on, and it can hit any drones mining the top mineral patch and the gas. Even if we just get 1 or 2 drones, I don't need to target anything, just hold position. Maybe it drifts a bit too far, starts getting hit by the spore. That's fine, it'll kill the 2 drones. It's not in range of the spore, so it won't hit it back, and then we just run it away. And then you go back to macro. But what we're doing here is we've flown right in. And if we were going to fly right in, we should have immediately clicked on a drone and then shift-clicked on another drone and then shift-clicked backwards, right? But instead we've gone, oh, and now we've turned around. Now we're trying to get the drone. And now we've run away. And now we're clicking it to the left. And then we selected our nexus, tried to build some more probes. We're now doing a revelation. But we're clicking the Oracle still through a bit of a dangerous area. Okay, fair enough. At least, okay, I thought we were going to... Like, we really need to just go home and macro. All right, well, that's a lot of Zerglings. Definitely something to respect. We know the third is there. We see some drones on the third. Okay, we're getting more info. That was a good scout. I'm down with that. But the rest of the build feels very slow. So we've got a lot of Stalker and Sentry. These units aren't very useful at all if we're playing Charge Lord or Mortal Archon. The Sentries can gather up energy and be big, but the Stalkers themselves... not so useful against Zerg. So around Platinum League is where you do want to start branching your builds off for different matchups. And this feels just a bit too generic as like a one-size-fits-all build. It's trying to do everything at once. So don't try to change your build for every matchup, but maybe start with PvZ. Go, okay, I'm just going to build a couple of Depth Zealots and get my 2 Oracles out. I'll get those out way earlier. And then that's it. But we're going a 3rd Oracle, and we're also going Charge and Mortal Archon. So there's a lot of different things happening at once here, where it feels like, are we going Charge Lots or are we playing Sentry Stalker? We're going Oracles. In general, Oracle Harass doesn't pay off unless you're an expert with those Oracles. So what I would advise is you build maximum 2 Oracles, or maybe 3 every game, but you just try to get better with your technique of using those, and you get them over there earlier. Problem you're having is your Oracle timing is so late, you're always running into a Zerg that has a billion queens and spores everywhere. Whereas if you get a really crisp Oracle out, you fly in, the spore's not done, you kill 4 drones, get out of there, you start feeling pretty good about yourself. But because you're getting the Oracle late, you're not getting better at the micro. This is a common mistake everyone falls into on the ladder. They go, man, I just can't make disruptors work for me. I look at their game, I'm like, your first disruptor pops at 11 minutes. They're like, yeah, it just doesn't work. I'm like, he's maxed on Ultra Baneling. Very different getting a disruptor out at 10 minutes and using it when they're maxed on Ultra Baneling and they just A-move through you, as opposed to getting out some Disruptor Stalker and pushing at 6 minutes 30 and dropping balls on their handful of roaches that don't have roach speed, right? So it's the same with an Oracle. If you get that up at sharp timing, you give yourself a good opportunity to get some damage, get in, get out. Oh, he's defended this time, just kill 1 drone, pull away, or just pull away, come back in later. You know, after the first wave or 2 with the Oracles, you usually want to get them behind the mineral lines and you want to just queue stasis traps. One of the best ways to mess with your opponents, because you can queue a stasis trap there and then shift click the Oracle here. Other Oracle, stasis trap there, shift click back. Other Oracle, stasis trap, shift click back. That's going to be low APM for you to execute, but it's going to cost them a lot of APM because they need to either pull drones away, set it off, put them back, or if they don't react, the drones, when they unfreeze, they don't go back to mining. So the problem they have is they have to, every time they have to tell those drones, oh, box them, go back to mining, box them, go back to mining, box them, go back to mining 20 seconds later. So it messes with their rhythm really, really hard. So if you do want to go 2 or 3 Oracles, do it that way. None of this Stalker Sentry business. If you're playing Stargate, just get the 3rd up nice and quick and do nothing but, like I said, a handful of Adepts early to defend the wall and stuff. You get 2 Adepts, whatever. Maybe 2 Adepts to defend the 3rd. And then just go straight into charge. So get Twilight Forge, Robo, start building an Observer, then charge, and just get up to 8 gateways and just start making lots of Zealots, Immortals, Archons, and then go for a big 3-base push off no more than about 58 probes. Should be hitting somewhere about the 7th. If you go triple Oracle, it'd be a bit later, maybe 8 minutes 30 you're hitting, 8 minutes. But much earlier, nowhere near maxed, and it's going to give you a really sharp, okay, I'm doing some harassment with the Oracles, and then here comes the big 3-base push. You probably don't need the gases on the 3rd base. Probably just do it off only the minerals there. 58 to 60 probes, something like that. And that'll give you a really crisp timing. But as it is, what ends up happening here is we're sitting back for a very long time, and then we're like, oh, I'll go double forge, I guess. There's no attack timing in mind. So even with light harassment, I always steer people away from relying on, oh, 1 Oracle pokes in or 2 Adepts. I always prefer people going with a big wave of Zealots or Adepts because it really punishes a greedy opponent, and then we go and get active. And similar to that other game we watched earlier of, who was it on this same map who also pushed through here with no control group, Storm Arc on Immortal? I can't remember who it was, sorry. But it's the exact same issue where we're kind of building cannons and batteries and upgrades, but we're not really committing to an attack. And so, like you mentioned in your analysis, Nosnibor, he's got time to get Lurkers and Banes and Broods and cover the map in creep and do everything he wants. StarCraft is best played as a game where you really learn where your units are strong, when they're strong, and the strength of being aggressive by really committing hard at the correct time. And that's why having that planned ahead of time will help you learn when that works, when it doesn't work, how to execute your micro. It makes you such a better player. But this game, I got Sentries and Stalkers and Oracles and Archons and Immortals and Carriers and Double Forge. I'm telling you, I look at this unit comp in every stage you've had this game and my brain hurts because I would not know what to do in a fight. I would be like, oh god, I've got to like tab between High Templar and Sentries and Blink Stalkers. Like, this is overwhelming me. I was like, wait, why are there 3 Oracles in the army and all this? Like, it's too much for me to think about. So keep your army much tighter in focus and you will actually play it better. As it is, we end up with a lot of expensive tools kind of mishmashed together, and it's so hard to pick a good fight with that. It's so difficult. So as always, I do get very harsh on these days, but I hope you guys are learning stuff and getting better as a result. It's really just trying to highlight the mental traps we fall into where we make the game vastly more complicated than it needs to be. Whereas if you have an attack plan from before the game starts, the game is a lot simpler. There's still a lot of variables in there, a lot of things to adapt and adjust to, but you're at least removing the variability of what your plan is to something a lot simpler. GG's. Oh, drops a question mark. Civics. That's true. That's actually the best coaching we could have got. The counterpoint was pretty good too. Sidek did also just sit there all game. The difference is that Sidek won once all was said and done. That was the only difference, really. Both players kind of sat there all game. I think the build order needs a lot of work, my dude. Just the build order needs a bit of work, and then having a much more cohesive plan and direction. There was too many different ideas, none of which led into an attack. So in all of the vast ocean of StarCraft knowledge, which nobody can contain in their head, I absolutely don't know everything about StarCraft, not even close, guys. You'll notice that there's a strategy here, which is know how you want to chop your opponent, know how you want to strike your opponent. It's, I want to pick up an axe and swing it at your neck. And you know that before the game starts. And once you know that, the game becomes simpler, because then you're thinking about, okay, how do I play with that in mind? Whenever you play StarCraft without an attack in mind, even if it's 5-6 minutes down the line, which is an eternity in StarCraft terms, you just basically, you become ineffective, you become neutered. And I rant about this all the time because a couple of years ago, and before I did my Bronze to GM especially, everyone was watching Vibes Bronze to GM. There were so many new players coming in, old players returning, all through Vibes Bronze to GM going as viral as it did. And it was great. And people were macroing better than I've ever seen them macro before. But it's like nobody knew how to attack. And nobody understood the idea of get a lead and then go kill your opponent with it. Or get to an economy, then put all of your money into an awesome army and go kill them with that army. And instead everyone was like, oh, I just sit there and I make some units. And the thing is, if you're making carriers from the start, you're trying to get, maybe you defend with some stuff that goes straight up to like some Void Rays and then straight to mass carrier and storm. You're like, okay, yeah, that can work, right? Because you're making a pretty late game army. You're trying to go mass ultra broodlord corruptor. Okay, you're going to hive tech army. Okay, that can work, right? Survive with roaches and then just go mass hive. Oh, you're just playing mass Thor Hellbat? Okay, that can work, right? Thor Hellbat range lib, even better. But if you're not playing for that mega late game composition, it's like your strategy has no depth. And even for those players, I would not advise it. I think their play is are games, there's not a lot of interaction happening in them, right? And I felt like people leveled up their macro way too hard during that time period. And they just weren't, like there was so many games I was coaching of students I had where a player was up 80 supply and then just sat there and they're just like, oh, I didn't know what to do. And for me, it was like, are you insane? Go attack them. They're like, oh, I don't know what attack would work. And I realized like it was almost like we bred a whole generation. There was like a 3-year generation of StarCraft players who were just cowards. And then they were just afraid to make decisions, and they were like, oh. And I was like, this is like, it was like, you know how old people complain about millennials, and they're like, those stupid millennials, they can't even do their taxes or deal with filling out a form without having an anxiety attack. I felt like that generation of StarCraft players was like that. I was there as the grumpy old boomer being like, you stupid millennials, just go attack. And they're like, but which attack? I don't know if it'll work. And I'm like, I don't care, just pick one. And then you'll see if it works. If it doesn't, try a different one or try to do it better and faster. And they were like, oh, I don't know, man. Can I just max out and make every upgrade in the game and every unit? And I was like, yeah, you can. It won't work, though. Won't work past, whatever league. And they're like, man, I don't want to make life decisions. I'm 36. And I want my mom and dad to still tell me what to do, So it's kind of like that analogy where I was like, the best advice is literally just get out there and try things and learn from them, right? Get your hands dirty, be a go-getter, and just play. Just play and figure out what works is always going to be really good for you, right? So we always say playing confidently like a complete moron is always more effective in StarCraft than being too afraid to make a decision, right? You can play the perfect strategy and execute like total shit unconfidently, and it doesn't matter if it's the perfect strategy because you're never going to execute correctly. And I think there's a certain element of truth to that in a lot of areas in life, where how many of you have known someone who's a complete moron, but they're confident and they get out there and they just get everyone to buy into their crypto scheme and they make millions of dollars. And you're like, if I was just confidently a moron with no morals or ethics like that person, I could make millions of dollars too. But you're there like, nah, that's unethical, man. Ugh. I'm like, stop being a pussy and get out there and con some people out of their hard-earned money. But yeah, no, for reals, like there is a thing where like there's people who aren't necessarily the smartest, but they just go out there and work hard and try things, and they find a lot of success in a lot of life. I see it more and more, it's kind of insane, dude. Just yeah. Don't forget to buy Cumrocket, guys. Hashtag Cumrocket, definitely not associated. I just think it's gonna hit the moon, man. Best crypto ever, made by some Australians who I think knew the power of internet advertising. They're like, guys, you got to get on this Cumrocket. It's going up hard. It was really messed up. But yeah. So anyways, point being, get out there and just play hard, guys. StarCraft's overwhelming, but you give yourself a narrow focus to just get out there and follow some sort of plan, and you can adapt and add pieces to it. But there's always a cycle of if you start worrying about too many things and adding too many details and you're making 7 different spellcasters in one army, it's too overwhelming. So keep it simple. Activil in there, my good mate. You guys play board games or video games with him. He's the master of simplifying it. He legitimately goes to card game tournaments and people are just like, oh, this guy's such a fucking idiot. Because he just cheeses every game he plays. Every board game, card game, RTS. He just picks like fun builds. He clicks with his dick. He's like, I'll build he just builds 5 barracks behind his opponent's third base and kills them with Marines and SCVs. He just finds the nice, easier. He plays White Weenie and Magic the Gathering. He just basically gets in there and just does stuff. And he just has fun. And he's always having fun because he's always got a clear goal and direction in every game he plays. So every board game we play, we're playing board games on the weekend. Activillain always just does the rare mechanic, right? Where you're like, this one's not really efficient outside of a very rare set of circumstances, and it's just the first move he does. And you're like, and he's like, I just want to see what it does. Like, he's like, I just want to try and see if I can do okay with this move. And it's awesome. It's a great way to play. There's just zero fear. It's just, I'm going to try and use this mechanic and see what happens. And he does that with every game he plays. So there's a lot to be learned from the carefree attitude of the Activillain guys. He's a rare unicorn in the StarCraft community. Everyone's like, oh, my ladder anxiety. Oh, what do I do? But what's the right decision? And Activillain's just there doing a one-base Hellbat all-in that's hitting at 6 minutes and still somehow in Diamond League. I kid you not, guys. 2.5 minutes late on his one-base Hellbat all-in. Still wrecking nerds in Diamond. Absolute Chad gamer. Hells yeah. So this is a 3200 Protoss player. It says 6-minute Roach Warren playing Stargate. Sounds like the sort of game where you literally just build a Void Ray, wall off your base, lose your third, and then just rebuild it. Right? That's what this sounds like. But let's take a look. Once again, guys, early second gateway not necessary. So that's because we saw a pool first. We should always recognize the difference between a pool first and a 12 pool. And you can see that. Okay, we come in. And actually, there is 3 lava ready, but because the pool's not even finished, if the eggs haven't started with a gate scout yet, the pool's not done. It's just a pool first. The simplest thing that you could do here is just build a cyber core, then the Nexus, and then swap the gas and the pylon timing. And that way you can chrono an adept out, and you'll be fine. Now that's an advanced swap, so I'm totally down with what Kashikoi did, which is, okay, I'm going to build a Zealot, second pylon, cyber core, second gate. This is solid. This will do. This will do, especially since it looked like there was going to be 6 Zerglings building. There only ended up being 2. You could argue it's an overreaction. I think overall this is pretty good, man. Is Kashikoi in the chat, by the way, guys? I didn't actually check their Twitch name. Oh, it's Kashikoi in Twitch as well. He's gone already? No worries. All right, so we're going Robo. Guys! What was the question? How do you scout and defend a 3-base Roach all-in that hits at 6 minutes when going 3-base Stargate? 3-base Stargate. 3-base Stargate. 3-base Stargate. Oh, I can't believe it took this long. Right towards the end of the stream when someone sends us the wrong replay. Wait, no, we're going Stargate after Robo? Oh, Jesus Christ. What are you... What is this build? What is this build? Oh, I'm just going triple Stargate Robo Bay off 2 Immortals, 4 Stalkers, and a Central. What? This is not... Your build sucks. Your build sucks. You can't go ground and air at the same time. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. This is not a build, man. Make up your mind. This is the, I'll have one of everything, please. Guys, you got to make decisions in StarCraft. Oh, I'm going to go 6 gate, Robo, 3rd base, triple Stargate Robo. What even in the hell? Okay, what if you go Twilight Robo? Can you go Twilight after scouting early pool? Yeah, why not? There was no super fast gas, I don't think. I don't know when link speed actually kicked in. I mean, yeah. But, yeah. I mean, the thing is... I mean, just the build sucks. This is, like, if you're gonna... Sorry, the build just doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going Robo, you want your tech down much earlier so your Observer can actually scout as well. So definitely do try to get that Robo earlier. We're building lots of Stalkers and Central. I guess the Hallucination is our scout. In that case, you should be scouting right now on 75 energy. All right, which we do. And we're going to see signs of a normal game. Now, there's a finished Roach Warren. It's pretty early Roach Warren. But otherwise, we do see a lot of drones, which is the main thing you should be looking for is, are there a lot of drones? We see drones popping out. Looks pretty normal. I mean, a standard plan from here off this, right, would be, okay, we've gone Robo. We should already have the Twilight up. We're already floating 1,000 minerals, so we're probably looking at our scouting a bit too much. We could easily have a 3rd base started and be going Twilight, Forge, making Immortals, going, and then working our way up to 8 gateways. And then, yeah, we'd be fine. Even if we end up losing the 3rd, it wouldn't be too bad. I mean, this is such a hard to scout attack, specifically because it's such a bad attack. So because it's hard to scout, like, you can see it now if you have an Observer over here, right? And this is why you would build an Observer and send it across the map first, because then you can see what's coming out. If you just siege it up here, you'd see, oh, he's making lots of roaches, make some more defensive units, super easy. One of the most important things, even if you've gone Oracle, is whenever I'm not using, like at a certain point in the game, maybe 5 minutes onwards, I just leave the Oracle patrolling from here to here. So it just spots any attacks moving out. Super easy. Seeing when an attack coming is very important. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. If you get a battery up, in general, never build a battery out there. You always want to build your battery back so that your units can be defending here with the battery kind of protected. So try to build the batteries far back if possible, or in the mineral line. And then, yeah, basically just warp in more units. I mean, having 6 gates against this attack, and you've already got a sentry and a pack of stalkers, I would make nothing but, like, stalk a sentry probably, get both immortals up front, and I would just try and defend over here at the third. And there's no roach speed, so these units kind of suck. They don't even have any lings with them yet, so you'll be okay for now. And then I'd be trying to add in zealots to deal with the zerglings, and that would be totally fine. But, yeah, no, it's too many things at once. There's no direction. So let me just talk theoretically about what you're meant to do against Zerg players, guys. Against Zerg, you hit them with a sharp timing attack, Adepts or Zealots, and then you take your third behind it, and then you do a big 3-base timing off 60 probes. There's a reason why we do this. It's because if you don't do it, Zerg is very explosive economically, so they can get way ahead on workers, or they can suddenly build a shitload of army. And if you don't have very good scouting or perfect macro, you die to either of those things. What counters both of them? Extreme greed or extreme aggression. Building your own army and going for an attack defends their all-in, because you've already got an army, and it kills their greed, because you're going to kill them with your army. This is the beauty of attacking your opponent rather than just sitting there. So, most of the Protoss replays we've got in the second half of today have fit a pattern. Sitting there, building stuff quite well, and doing nothing with it, and then letting the opponent beat them. Whether that's through aggression or late game, it's Protoss players who are playing with no build and no direction, okay? So, that's the key. Get in there, get a direction, go be focused, kick some ass, okay, guys?